What is going on, all you Pokemon collecting maniacs out there? This is Ryan, the Pika Pika Papa, and as we do right at the end of every single month, today I'm going to be giving you my overall state of the hobby. And what that means is, behind the scenes here on the Pika Pika Papa channel, we aggregate a lot of data, more data than I could ever possibly show you through regular content throughout the course of the month. So what I try and do at the end of every month is aggregate it together and give you just a general synopsis of how Sword and Shield, Sun and Moon, XY, and Scarlet and Violet is moving. We aggregate the value of the top 20 singles cards from each of those eras. We aggregate the value of the booster boxes from those eras. We're able to recognize patterns and movements and things that are happening that can sometimes fly under the radar, which can help give us a leg up in this amazing hobby that all of us love so much, right? Because listen, you work hard for your money and I work hard for mine. And I know when I decide to spend it, I want to do it with the best information I have at my fingertips. And what we have found here as of late is that different eras are giving us different opportunities. For example, and I'll show you this in a minute, the XY era and the Sun and Moon era have been incredibly hot. Prices are spiking like you would not believe. However, for the last 4 months, it's been a fantastic buying opportunity for Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet. So while you have two eras where the prices are spiking, you had two eras where the prices are going down. So if you've been following this channel at all, I've been talking about how I've been incredibly strategic about my spends, because at the end of the day, I love Pokemon cards. I love cards from the XY era, the Sun and Moon era. I love cards from all of them. There is not a single era out here that I can't find cards that I am absolutely in love with. So I always try and take what the market is giving me, and that's what we've been really focused on here as of late. So the first graph I want to show you right here is the graph from last month's State of the Hobby, and this is how Sword and Shield booster boxes have been moving and how Sword and Shield's top 20 singles cards have been moving really ever since September of 2023. So we're knocking on the door of 2 years of having this information. Now, what I do is every month I aggregate the value of the top 20 singles cards from every set that has a booster box, and I graph out how those move. And then I aggregate the value of the 12 booster boxes from Sword and Shield, and I graph out how that moves. And what I want to highlight here is if you look at the yellow bar and the green bar there, those represent the last 2 times that the aggregate value of the top 20 singles cards in the Sword and Shield era were on the decline. The biggest takeaway, and what I was talking about last month, and I'm going to hammer it home here in just a minute, is the last time we saw single card prices decline, booster box prices were flat or even up just a little bit. Booster boxes rarely go down in value. Very, very steady, very easy investment. If you call anything in this hobby easy, all of it's a big risk, right? We're investing in ink and cardboard, right? You know what I mean? So none of it's guaranteed, but booster boxes are some of the safest, most steady bets that you can make here in the hobby. What I called out is if you look at the red section, what we have seen over the last 4 to 5 months is booster boxes and Sword and Shield have been going nuts in terms of pricing. The prices have been absolutely spiking, but at the same time, the singles cards have been dropping. And what we were talking about last month is something has to give. We cannot continue to see these booster box prices increase like that and not see the single card prices respond. We rarely get very definitive here on this channel. We always try and be as careful as possible because I don't have a crystal ball. I don't know what's going to happen, but I have said it is a very, very interesting buying opportunity right now with the divergence between the booster box prices and the top 20 singles cards. Now, what do we see this month? As you can see, things have continued to be hot in the booster box space. They did not slow down at all. But what we are seeing here, and I'm going to show you is why this is not just overall what's going on right here, but this chase cards are actually outperforming this. As you can see, the singles cards prices are directionally flat month over month. Again, that's the aggregate value of those top 20 singles cards from every set that has a booster box. So we're talking about a total of 240 cards from the Sword and Shield era. So while we saw April, May, June, July, we saw they were all in the red, all negative. Prices were coming down. From July to August, the aggregate value of those 240 cards was down negative 0.09%, as close to directionally flat as you can get. And the other thing that we've called out, and I really want to emphasize this too, is how chunky this gets. So you see those purple boxes that I have right there, and you see that the last time we had periods of single card regression, it lasts 5 months, then 4 months, and now guess what? It's been 5 months. So I really feel, and I'm going to show you singles cards to support this in a minute, I really feel like we're turning a corner and these singles cards are about to get hot here in the Sword and Shield era. So it could be a fantastic buying opportunity before we go on a little bit of a run here relatively soon. The other thing that I told you about, I share with you Sun and Moon too. I've been doing this for Sun and Moon for just as long. And what has been interesting about Sun and Moon is really how the booster boxes and the singles cards have kind of hockey sticked, right? And we use that in data terms sometimes where things, they grow very, very slowly and then all of a sudden they just take this aggressive slope up. And that's what you've seen. Look at the growth of those top 20 singles cards from January to now. I mean, the month over month percentage gains have been absolutely insane, only seconded by the growth in the booster box space. The booster boxes in the Sun and Moon era over the last 6 months have been absolutely eye-watering. We've had 3 back-to-back months where the gains have been double digits, 17% from July to August, 12% from June to July, and then 10% from May to June. That is just absolutely astonishing booster box growth in a very short amount of time. Now, you might be wondering what that arbitrary purple box is that I have up there from November of 2023. Well, if you look at that total for the 12 booster boxes from the Sun and Moon era back in November of 2023 was $6,960. Well, guess what that number correlates to? That's about the exact value right now of the 12 booster boxes from the Sword and Shield era. Now, this is not meant to indicate that Sword and Shield is going to do a 1-for-1 and follow the exact same pattern, but I did think it was interesting just to show where Sword and Shield prices are now comparatively to where Sun and Moon booster boxes were on the same journey. And as you can see, ever since that point, Sun and Moon booster boxes have literally almost 3x'd, going from $6,900 to just shy of $20,000. It has been an incredible run. Sword and Shield has some awesome booster boxes. They have some amazing cards. Those alt arts are next to nothing, fantastic, and a lot of hype around that era. So don't be surprised if you see some aggressive gains in the Sword and Shield market as well. It is not too late. I do think those booster boxes have a lot of room to run. Maybe not as much as Sun and Moon, different collecting era, different print runs, all of that good stuff. Like sealed collecting wasn't nearly a thing back then like it is today. So there's going to be a whole lot more Sword and Shield booster boxes available. But I do think this goes to show you that there is a whole lot of upside left. We also do it for the XY era. As I said, this is how the XY era has been going. Now, I started this 1 month later. I didn't start until October of 2023. But again, some really aggressive hockey stick type action right here. We all know that the release of the new Mega series that came out obviously drove a lot of attention to the old Mega Evolution Pokemons, which all came out in the XY era. XY was highly undervalued for a long time, so it's catching up and doing some big, big stuff. Now, again, I have that arbitrary purple box in there, May of 2025. Well, guess what? That was when booster boxes in the XY era, again, all 12 of them, had an aggregate value of $18,627, which is the closest number to where Sun and Moon is right now. Again, just to see this is absolutely incredible. It's crazy to think. For me, my takeaway in this is how high Sun and Moon is, not how high XY is, or not that XY is lagging at all, but just how crazy valuable those Sun and Moon booster boxes have gotten to consider to the point that these XY, which again are infinitesimally hard to find compared to Sun and Moon, and way impossible hard to find compared to Sword and Shield, and to see where those was only just a couple short months ago at the same value that Sun and Moon booster boxes are right now. Crazy stuff happening in the hobby. Next thing that we got to talk about, Scarlet and Violet. Now, Scarlet Violet and Sword and Shield have truly been moving in lockstep, and we've been talking about this. So Scarlet and Violet's not fully baked yet, but what I do is I aggregate the value of all the sets in Scarlet and Violet up until the most recent set that has at least 6 months of age to it. So that puts us at Prismatic Evolutions. And you can see the ultra modern sets, Sword and Shield, Scarlet and Violet, the aggregate value of those singles cards have been moving in lockstep. That's why I did a lot of content on Sword and Shield and Scarlet and Violet singles cards and how, these are the ones I think have a high opportunity for some great price appreciation. We looked for support lines. And again, just like we saw Sword and Shield's aggregate value starting to flatten out in August, we're starting to see Scarlet and Violet do the exact same thing. It's only down 1.8% month over month. I think there's still more, obviously, I don't know, there's going to be more risk, if you will, in Scarlet and Violet. It's still newer. We still have a lot of Scarlet and Violet left to open, but it is fascinating to me to see how these two eras are really moving in lockstep. Now, I told you that we were going to talk about some singles cards. I said it in the very beginning of the video that even though from July to August, the aggregate value of the top 20 singles cards in the Sword and Shield era is directionally flat, but I felt better because the chase cards were doing good. Look what's going on here. Look at that Gengar card. That Gengar hit a very strong support line right in the $575 range. Then all of a sudden it popped up. It's all the way up to $630 right now. Great indicator right there. Same thing with the Giratina. Like, we love to see the big chase cards start to pop off. Usually the chase cards go first, and some of those middle pack cards end up following second. They're a fast follow to the big chase card. So keep that in mind as you're out there hunting for some great Sword and Shield options. But Giratina did the same thing, right? Came in at about $485, $490, just broke the $500 mark, snapped right back up to $550 today. Same thing, that Lugia was working its way down. Now it's popped way up. I mean, that thing was at like $260, $270. Now it's all the way up to $337. So again, when you're thinking about the overall momentum in the hobby, remember, these chase cards are a fantastic first indicator of what is to follow. It has been in the past, and I have a strong feeling it's going to do the same thing again in the future. But what's interesting to me, and what I think is really, really compelling, are these Evolving Skies singles. So the Moonbreon right here, the biggest and the baddest of the Sword and Shield era, where we saw those other three awesome chase cards, they're already starting to spike up. The Moonbreon is just starting to hit its support at $1,355. That is a ton of money for an ultra modern single card. That's a ton of money for anything. I don't care what you're talking about. That's just a ton of money right there. But it is a very, very compelling argument to say it's starting to hit its support line. We all know Evolving Skies is going to continue to grow. We all know that the Moonbreon is going to hit an all-time high again sometime in the future. I have very little doubt about that. So the fact that it's starting to show some support right now, you see those light blue bar graphs, right? Those represent sales volume. A lot of people are starting to buy now that it's hitting that $1,350 range. Like, don't be surprised if over the next couple months we either see this continue to hold that line or even start to see it scoop up just a little bit. Same thing with the Ray. Same thing with that awesome alt art from Evolving Skies for Rayquaza right there. Look at the sales volume and how it's picked up over the last couple weeks. This thing is at the $665 mark. People are picking it up left and right. Usually that is a very good indication that we're either starting our support line or that it's going to start to take the turn for the positive. So really interesting call outs right here. Next thing, Scarlet and Violet, same thing right here. That Magikarp is absolutely killing the game. That thing, I mean, it was sub $200 for just a blink of an eye. Then it immediately started to take back up. And when you think about Paldea Evolved, terrible gem rates, one of the first sets from the Scarlet and Violet era, we're probably not going to see any reprints of it up at this point. So very, very protected from a reprint perspective, and awesome to see this card doing so well. We did content on Sunday. We talked about the Charizard from Paldean Fates. Like, that is an absolute stunner of a card. Another one found support at like the $170 level, started to take off again. The Greninja, right? One of the better chase cards from the entire Scarlet and Violet era. Same thing. Found support right at the $270 mark. Now it started to bounce its way back up. Very early on, but again, the thing that you notice with all of these is if you look at those light blue bar graphs, you see that they're all starting to spike, which means people are starting to buy in, which is a fantastic indicator of things to come. Now, the next thing, we got to talk about some of the new products that are being launched because this is the State of the Hobby video. So I got to talk about Team Rocket's Moltres Ultra Premium Collection. This thing is fire. This thing is amazing. I absolutely want to have it. I have not formulated my opinion on how I feel about reprinting all of Moltres' very best cards from Destined Rivals. I'm just going to have to sit there and think about it. If I'm being honest, my knee-jerk reaction is kind of lazy from the Pokemon Company. I would love it if they gave us fantastic alt arts only available. Think about all of the great Ultra Premium Collection boxes in the past. You got the Celebrations one, right? You got the Charizard one, you got the 151. They all had very unique alt arts of big name Pokemon, which helped elevate them to an even higher level. I'm not a huge fan of this right now. Maybe my opinion will change. I just feel like it's a little bit lazy just to put a stamp on cards that have already been out, especially for Ultra Premium collections. If you want to do it for a $19, $30 box, whatever that is, fine. I can buy into that. For something like this, where we're going to shell out a ton of money, I want something better. Do better, Pokemon. All right. Then the final thing we got to talk about, Phantasmal Flames. I've talked about it ad nauseum. I've shared with you my investing strategy. I've shared with you all the different things that I think about this set. I think it's just going to be wild. I don't even know what else to say. I think demand's going to be through the roof. I don't think supply is going to be anywhere near what we need it to be. I know I am focused on it. I am approaching it with a very, very specific and strategic plan for it. Again, I've shared that with videos in the past, but this is something I want a lot of. I think it's going to be an incredible set. I love this artwork. I'm going to buy this singles card, which I never do for ultra modern sets like this, but I'm going to do it because I want it and I can. So with all that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot of data, a lot of graphs, a lot of charts, but if you kind of peel back the onion here, there's a whole lot of stuff to learn. And it's a ton of fun to look at this. And I can't wait till next month. Next month will mark officially 2 years for a lot of these data sets. And so I can't wait to share that with you. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, hit that subscribe button, hit a thumbs up. And most importantly, I hope you have an awesome rest of your day. I'll talk to you soon, everybody. See you. Bye.